Welcome back. You're listening to The Expect Effect, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. We know life is hard, but we believe self-care doesn't have to be. Consider this a judgment-free zone, an acknowledgement of feeling, the birth of every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I'm your host. It's just Nikia. Your life is meant to be all that you desire, and we want to help you get there. So sit back, relax, and unwind as we uncover ways to truly expect better, do better, and believe better. Self-care Sundays have never looked this good. And as a matter of fact, despite being a little under the weather, we have never felt this good. We're coming to you from our brand new host platform, Podbean. Thank you so much for that. And while we did move away from Anchor, keep in mind we have nothing terrible to say. There were just a few things I wanted to do as a host, I think, that required a different platform. There are new places I'm wanting to take this show, and I'm constantly looking for the best way to not only produce great content, but produce it under my own terms. So thank you guys so much for being patient with us during this off week as we worked on producing this new style. And if you're a new listener, thank you for tuning in, and I cannot thank you enough for being present, for fighting through the week, even if it seems like the week was really fighting you, for the continued care that you have of self. Thank you for sharing this space with me, and for sharing the importance of self-care with those around you. Just really pushing that message and understanding that self-care isn't selfish. So without further ado, let's get right into it. This week, we're recommending The Beginner's Guide to Successful Trail Running, written by none other than the host of She Runs Trails podcast, Melody Cleaver Dowlern. The Beginner's Guide to Successful Trail Running is built to answer all of those difficult questions you might have. Have you ever thought about running trails, but didn't know where to begin? Are you ready to experience the bliss of trail running? Are you concerned or confused about what's really needed or required for a trail run? Do you have a trail curious friend who's maybe interested in trail running? Or do you just have a world of questions yourself? Whatever the case may be, you'll learn how to be safe on the trails and how to avoid newbie trail mishaps by learning from Melody's mistakes and saving time, money, and energy. At 28 pages, there is more than enough info to get you up and running, but not so much information that you're overwhelmed. That's going to be The Beginner's Guide to Successful Trail Running, written by Melody Cleaver Dowlern. You'll find a link to where you can make that purchase on our show's blog page, but also feel free to visit She Runs Trails podcast on Instagram to go ahead and get your copy today. Now, guys, just bear with me. Thank you so much. That was a little difficult. Melody, I'm super, super proud of you. And I just want to say that I had to shout out that piece of work because it floors me anytime I see people that I've been around, grown up with, or in any capacity succeeding and flourishing and thriving. So thank you so much for writing that. Thank you for having it as something that I could even put up on this platform, and for constantly working, Melody, to give to other people and to teach other people. She was my Spanish teacher, and she is one person who I can say is continually dedicated her life to making sure that others are equipped with proper tools and information that will better them in ways to come for years down the line. So Melody, thank you so much for that. And guys, I promise I'm not so sickly that we're not going to make it through this episode, but sometimes it's starting to feel like it. If I had a wig, I'd be taking it off. But this week's episode, if it doesn't, I will. If it doesn't, I will. I heard this quote in an interview that Oprah did right before the Oprah show launched worldwide at the time. I want to say this is like late 80s. And the question was, if this show doesn't blow up, what exactly is going to happen to you? And she said, if it doesn't, I will. And it's true that life can be draining, to say the least, and sometimes the worry generated by our fears, encompassed with real-life circumstances, causes us to shut down. But what if I presented the idea that no matter the outcome of the situation, you will do well? What if I brought faith, which we know requires hope, to the present moment and began believing for better in the future while claiming peace along the way? Easier said than done, I know, but what if by default you accepted the idea that life is only peaceful if you claim it? You see, peace will never be handed to us, ever. The perspective we carry determines everything. Knowing ourselves to be powerful beyond measure, see, that's the silver lining. In the pursuit of success, we often stumble when failure meets us for the first time. And while this is common, in this moment, some are going to take flight, running off with another idea as opposed to making a few adjustments. Some are going to religiously make adjustments when they should have taken flight with a different idea. And some are going to become so discouraged we never hear from them again. Others, however, will work to determine what it is and what isn't, while rising to the occasion no matter the obstacle. But what's the secret to doing that? The secret? If it doesn't, I will. Affirm this thing no matter what. If it doesn't, I will. We gonna be all right. It doesn't matter if the outcome of the relationship, the job, or the situationship. I don't care if this is your first or 15th stint in rehab. Declare that the failure you're experiencing will not define you. Whatever you desire, you will achieve. You're meant to have good things because you're a good person. If not you, then who? Please enlighten me. Who better than you to put out your dreams? Excuse me for sounding like a broken record, but please understand that what is for you, and it's only attainable if you're open to receiving it, actively chasing it as opposed to chasing things that imitate your peace. Anything that produces a temporary feeling cannot be your anchor. It was never meant to be a sustaining feeling. It's the reason that you're constantly reaching for it again and again. I was never satisfied as an alcoholic because the bottle would always end up empty, just like me. If it doesn't fill you, it isn't for you. So how do we define this? How do we adopt a mentality that says, if it doesn't, I will? Well, there are going to be two key points of understanding. First, our desires aren't a destination. They're a culmination of applied efforts and affirmation. Now, per Merriam-Webster, culmination means to reach the highest or a climatic decisive point. For example, her long acting career culminated when she won the Oscar. Our desires aren't a destination, but they're a culmination of applied efforts and affirmation. Culmination, to reach the highest or climatic or decisive point. Do you hear all of those ors? The highest or climatic or decisive point? Now, in opposition of destination, which is defined by Merriam-Webster as a place in which one is journeying to or in which something is sent. Our dreams cannot be a place in which we're just journeying to. It's not the end all be all just because now we've gotten this thing that says, okay, I'm not where I used to be. If you consider landing your dream job to be the end of the line, then I'm afraid you're sadly mistaken. You see, that degree isn't your end-all be-all, and this relationship isn't suddenly going to manage itself. Peace isn't obtained, and then boom, you got it forever. I'm sorry. I wish it worked like that. It's not a destination. It's a culmination, practically requiring effort. That dream job is going to require your attention, your ability, and your service. That degree is only an acknowledgement of your capabilities, but define how you will put them to use. You have to make that decision and say, this is exactly how I'm going to apply my efforts in this way based on this thing. None of it is circumstantial, but as a matter of fact, very deliberate every step of the way. That relationship that you're in is wonderful, but what maintains the spark that led you to love in the first place? If we're able to stop placing so much weight on our circumstances and situations, for example, if the job doesn't work out, if the degree doesn't get me enough attention, then man, I swear, if we break up, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. If we're able to stop placing so much emphasis on circumstances and situations and put more emphasis on our applied efforts, for example, the way I've applied myself in this setting will definitely provide me a boost in the future, in the next job field if required, in the next relationship if required. The long nights, the trainings, the meetings, the same is to be said for any relationship or engagement. If we can do this, then I believe we have a real opportunity to flourish in life no matter the outcome of the situation. So even if it doesn't, I will. This says, I know life has entirely too much to offer. This situation is unfortunate, but I'm going to be okay. I will encounter more possibility. I will succeed at higher levels. I will reach my full potential. If it doesn't, I will. The second point to draw back on is that acceptance equals achievement. In the words of Brian Tracy, the happiest people in the world are those who feel absolutely terrific about themselves. And this is the natural outgrowth of accepting total responsibility for every part of their life. If we're able to accept what is, whatever that may be, life is relentless, I know, which is exactly why it's so necessary we also keep that same energy. If we're able to accept what is, face it head on, and embrace the good that can be found, we will inevitably encounter success. It will take work, it will take time, it will take patience, but it will pay off. If it doesn't, I will. I win in life like no other. I will. I win in life like no other. You guys know I'm a fan of an acronym. If it doesn't, I will. By culminating my applied efforts and affirming the life I desire, I know acceptance is an achievement that leads to other achievements, and I do not fear any part of myself. Let's run that back. I will win in life like no other. Even if it doesn't, I will, by culminating my applied efforts and by affirming the life I desire. I know acceptance is an achievement that leads to other achievements, and I do not fear any part of myself. When it comes to really saying, if it doesn't, I will, it's a matter of ownership. It says that I'm not afraid of what's happening around me, what's going on in front of me. I'm not looking at what's behind me. I'm just moving forward. I'm declaring peace in the present moment while also reaching and aspiring for all of my goals in the future. I'm not letting outside influences impact me, but I'm being diligent. And I know that just because I got here, that's not the last step in the journey. There's still so much more for me to uncover. This week, we're stepping into full effect with Janny. And if you remember, Janny was previously mentioned on our show as being a host of the Peep Game podcast with Zane Martinez. And while she's since separated from the platform, I don't want anyone to think that this is where the story ends. Janny has so much more to tell us, to share with us, and to uncover with the world. So sit back, stay tuned. Right after this, we're stepping into full effect with none other than my good friend Janny. Thank you guys so much. I promise y'all, I'm gonna come back next week healthy, live, active, and vibrant. I'm finna get me some vitamin C. Y'all ain't even gonna know what's good. But on a different note, I know y'all enjoyed this little beat in the background that was made by yours truly. So you know, by 2021, I'll probably be one of the hottest producers in the streets. But jokes aside, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been the first half of the revamp on the Expect Effect podcast. Sit back, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Janny. I am out of Amarillo, Texas. I am a podcast enthusiast. I could say a gamer. I mean, I'm not a good one, but I love them. And an intramural athlete.
Oh man,
Yes.
the last time I said I was an athlete, I was still in high school. But kudos. I think that's fantastic. Anybody
Yeah,
working out, I'm serious. I think you're doing
yeah,
amazing, and I wish I had
yeah.
that same motivation.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, playing volleyball in like a middle school gym isn't like what I had in mind, but it's fun. It keeps me active.
Man, I was so bad at volleyball. I had no real sense of direction. And I do wear glasses. I have corrective lenses. I also have
Oh,
astigmatism, so I'm gonna blame it on
oh
that.
man.
But like
Mhm.
I could never like I would always think I was serving so hard and
Mhm.
going in like this bigger direction, and I was always going nowhere. Absolutely
Oh
nowhere.
man, it takes practice. Some people just got it. I'm not saying I'm one of them, but
No, that's
you
exactly what
know.
she's saying, y'all. She said some people just, if you know, you know, because some people just got it. Oh man, but thank you, Janie, so much for sitting down with us, and I can't express how thrilled I am to have this conversation or get to work with you in this way and really discussing this topic. I want you guys to know how amazing Janie has been throughout this process. We have revamped this show over this past week. We've tested out some new equipment. We've done some different things, and our remote recording partner Ringer, which you've heard about in our introductory ads, which I'm very pleased with and very much loving. But we did have some technical difficulties getting this off the ground. So Janny has been super patient, and she's worked with us, and she's a phenomenal first female guest for us to have on the show. I'm very thrilled about that, and a really really great comeback episode. Even working with me through my cold and decrepit sinus ongoing issues. Just I'm sick like every
Oh
other
man,
week,
I
but I
could not
swear
even
to
tell.
y'all, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Like earlier, what they just heard, like what everybody just heard, sounded dastardly. Just ooh, I had some tea and some orange juice sitting over to the side when I recorded that segment. It was a little, yeah, you could tell I was having some difficulty breathing, but we're here. And Janie, I just want to thank you so much for being so patient and for really working with us on this revamp. And to all the listeners who are here on this ride and this journey, it's only getting better and we are only going up. So thank you guys so much. When we're talking about the topic, though, if it doesn't, I will. Can you kind of tell me what that sentiment means to you or how the statement strikes you?
Oh, it's definitely it's been really relevant in like what's been happening in my life just recently. Just, a lot of things going on. Like, for example, I just had to cut ties with some relationships and, my job. And it's just I, I am not gonna take that crap anymore. Like, just all the negative energy and all that. I gotta do it. Who else is? I just had to cut it out.
I feel that, but talk to me a little bit about when you say I had to. What kind of fuels that for you? Because I think, especially when discussing something, such a blatant affirmation as saying, if this situation, if this circumstance doesn't work out, it's still not going to take anything from me. I'm still going to exhibit growth. I'm still going to exude my potential. I'm still going to show the heights and levels in which I can reach, but a lot of times that does start at the very core level of saying like, damn, I have to do something different. Like something is not shifting. So what for you led you to that drive and that motivation, that thing that says I have to take these steps?
It's, just personally for myself, just for my mental and, my physical health, for example, but I've been there before, Like, fool me once, shame on me, Or was it fool me once, shame on you? I forget how it goes.
I think it's
But I
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
shame on me, right?
Yeah.
So I've been through this situation like prior, And I've just kind of sat in the background while getting treated like crap. And I'm not gonna let that happen again. And I could see myself kind of falling back into this slump, like not really myself. It was just taking a mental toll on me, which I don't like because I know how I am. Like I know how I am when I'm 100%. And it was definitely just making me a grumpy person, just like it was just getting hard to get out of the bed every day, like again, and I don't want that. I really don't want that.
I think it's so dope that you're able to recognize the perspective of the slope. Because I think one aspect of this, one thing I did say is that it will take work. Um, it will take time, but it will pay off. And I think when you're able to recognize, a lot of times I think we get very, very complacent. We get very comfortable. And then we don't start to notice when we're backtracking into certain situations because it's just what we're used to. And then you start to say like, oh yeah, I'm not wanting to get out of bed. I'm really not the most engaging. I'm actually starting to become very angry with the people around me. I'm not thrilled. I don't feel good. I'm not having a good time anymore. And you really, really start to feel all of those things in such a strong way. And I think when you're able to really assess that, that's a part of saying if it doesn't I will is accepting that process and recognizing when you do need to do something different. So being able to point out those red flags, recognize those things, and start to make shifts. What for you though is helping you in this adjustment period? Because it's not easy to, it's like it's one thing to say okay I'm going to do this, but then to actually be in the middle of that storm or those situations that shift, what are things keeping you up and in good spirit?
I've been trying to keep myself preoccupied, just just I've been reading, and just the people I've been, placing myself around is it's a good circle, I have a really good support system from my family and things. I've been reading The Secret right now, and that book does talk about the law of attraction, and I need to put out more positivity if I intend to receive it. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get better before I just make any more like decisions, like not saying brash decisions, but decisions that will affect my life.
To be reflective is probably one of the most important traits, I think, when you talk about the journey of self-reflection, or rather self-growth, because, when we talk about how important it is to be able to say and assess what is of us, what is not of us, what is actually going to allow us to grow, what's going to allow us to propel forward. All of those things are encompassed in what you just said. So it's definitely, I feel everything you're saying. I'm trying to think of quite the way I wanted to describe how it makes me feel, in the sense of there's definitely a sense of pride there. I think it makes me
Yeah.
smile anytime I hear someone say, like, I'm really going to take ownership of my life in this way. I'm going to grasp onto it in this way, and there's not going to be
Mhm.
any pushback, anything that's preventing me from progressing or moving forward. There's going to be nothing but progress. Even though
Yeah.
that may not be perfect and I don't know what this looks like, I'm still going to proceed to do what I can to do right by me. So that I really love, because that really encompasses, if it doesn't, I will, because I'm determined to do right by me, not by the situation, not by the circumstance, but by me. I have to put out positivity because that's what I want to get back, because life isn't handing me anything, but it is something that I have to claim and affirm every day. Um, so I really feel that on every level there. If there was a way that you could break down or help someone else realize, I guess, why it's worth taking that step in their own life, what would you say?
Oh man, what would I say? Um, I mean, not to sound cliche, but like you you come into this world alone and you're gonna leave alone. So like, I mean, like just kind of spiritually in a sense, but I just feel like you really should make the best out of it. There's you shouldn't have to be miserable, or feel stuck, or have ties to anything you don't that you don't need really. Like you shouldn't feel like you have to depend on anything. You have yourself.
Absolutely. And I think it's not too cliche to say. I mean, ultimately, we do die alone, and I preach that in a lot of different ways, of just saying that you have to be accountable and responsible for yourself and your happiness. No one else can be that for you. No other thing can be that anchor for you, and there is nothing that is going to be sufficient enough for you until you're doing the necessary work, to prove that all that you want, everything that you aspire for, to show that that is a culmination of your applied efforts and habit, to know that it's not just a destination, something that's going to be done the minute that you get there, to know that every day of your life requires work, progress, attention to detail. It requires passion. It requires love of self. It requires persistence. All of that is so key in ensuring that you know that achievements are equivalent to acceptance. The more you're able to accept yourself and push forward, and really know where you need to make the necessary changes, but still loving on yourself so intently along the way, all of that is going to propel you towards your passion and your purpose. Self-care is not selfish. That is our entire message here at the show. Janny, thank you so much for taking just a few moments to sit down with us to be a little reflective of that. We have some clips, some additional pieces of feedback we're going to be sharing from Janny in addition to this episode. So stay tuned for those. Thank you so much for sitting down here with
Yes,
us, for providing
absolutely.
for providing your tidbits, for being so patient throughout this process. If you
Yes.
would let the people know where they can find you.
Yes, that is no problem. You worked so hard, like just to get all this together. So thank you, first of all. You can find me at Yellow Hippie. It's Yellow Hippie HIPPIE _ on Instagram, and Janie Got a Gun on Twitter.
I like that. I should have came up with that Twitter handle, but
Oh, I gotta
I'm a
follow
little
you.
envious. Yeah, you can follow me at Scissors Protege. I've actually
Okay.
never disclosed that on any episode. And I don't know
Ooh.
why, but my Twitter my Twitter handle is really just more of like if you want to see me just doing whatever, who knows what. It's a very lax space for me. Not usually a lot of promos or anything like that. But if you want to get the most gauge and insight, I guess, into how I think personally, you can follow me on Twitter at Scissors Protege. Thank you so much, Janie. This has been an absolute pleasure and experience. This has been your weekly dose of me time. We're going to see you right here next week on time at that, next Sunday, right here on the Expect Effect podcast. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a wonderful week.